Hello, this is Allie with the Perception Trainers, author of The Perception Diet, and today I wanted to do a follow-up of my last video, which was Stop Trying to Eat Pure, and this one is the paradox of what happens when you let go of trying to eat pure. Okay, so the main reason that I wanted to make this video was to kind of clear up a few points that were kind of questions lingering from last video, and to kind of help you really understand why letting go of this Puritan mindset with eating is actually going to benefit you in a whole bunch of really awesome ways. Okay, so the first thing that I want to kind of suggest that you think about is this idea that you always are going to line up with your image of yourself. Okay, so your behavior, your thought patterns, your everything that you do lines up with who you believe yourself to be. Okay, so that's first thing to understand. And again, don't take my word for it. Go and just like really look at your behavior and really look at how you behave, especially like around food, and consider, okay, if I am continually pushing myself to try to eat pure and pushing myself to try and eat clean and pushing myself to try and eat healthy, and I'm really trying at this and I just keep failing, what does that mean about what I believe about myself? Okay, so what I want to suggest here is that, especially in the West, we women, but all people, tend to have an underlying belief about ourselves that we are not good, that we are not pure, that we have fallen from grace, that we are sinful, that we are, right? We don't love ourselves. We don't actually like who we are. We think there's something wrong with us, okay? So now, if that is your core belief about yourself, whether you're aware of it or not, and I'm just going to say that if you don't treat yourself with just like complete respect and you don't like really behave in a way that's always beneficial for you, you probably have an underlying belief that you're not good and that you're not worthy. If that is your core belief, and then you always line up with your core belief about yourself, and you are trying to eat pure, you're never going to be able to do it, because that would not align with what you believe about yourself. You see what I'm saying? So when we try to put food in this category of making me pure or making me good or earning my righteousness that I don't believe that I have, the very fact that you don't believe that you have it means that you're never going to be able to eat how you want to eat, because that would not align with your self-image. Okay, so that's number one. That's like the first thing that I just want to say, is that so long as you're holding on to this belief that you can eat pure and that this Puritan eating can be good for you, but you don't strongly already believe that you are pure, that you are good, that you are righteous, if you don't already have that fundamental belief about yourself, you're never going to be able to maintain and sustain a pure, clean eating habits, because that doesn't align with who you believe yourself to be. And you're always going to be who you believe yourself to be. Okay, so that's number one thing to think about. Okay? The second thing that I want to say is that easier than fixing your entire self-image about yourself. So not to say that you shouldn't, right? If you, like, I would suggest using this thing that, like, I've been trying to eat pure and clean for so long, and I always feel like I'm coming up short, or I always feel like it's unsatisfying. So even if I get there, even if I eat totally pure and totally clean, I still don't feel good about myself. Or I continually am like trying and falling off and trying and falling off and trying and falling off and trying and falling off, and I can't get there. Use that as a catalyst to say, okay, maybe this is showing me something that I believe about myself that needs to be worked on. That this doesn't actually have anything to do with my poor willpower, or that I can't just get it together to eat good or whatever. Maybe this is showing me that I have some core foundational belief about myself that I'm tying into food, and it's mirroring back to me what I believe about myself. Okay, so that's one thing. The second thing is that if you allow yourself to let go of Puritan eating, okay, so I'm not going to think of food in terms of good and bad, pure and evil, right and wrong, making me good, making me bad, making me clean, making me dirty, detoxing me or toxing me, if I'm not going to think of foods in those terms, okay? what I was suggesting in the last video is not now you just eat whatever the fuck you want and binge out on McDonald's and eat donuts and like say fuck it, okay? That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you shift your perspective from food being in a place where it's giving you purity and it's giving you righteousness and it's giving you holiness, which it never could, okay? And you put it back in its rightful place of nourishment, all right? And when you do that, okay, when you allow yourself to remove the labels of good, bad, pure, clean, not clean, good, blah, 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 and you just put food in nourishment. How do I want to feel physically? If this food has no impact on how I feel about myself self-esteem wise, right? So like this is the challenge that you set for yourself, that you start to say, okay, when I'm looking to food to give me my self-esteem, when I'm looking to food and allowing it to rob me of my self-esteem, that's a separate issue, right? That's a symptom of a problem that I don't already believe in myself. I don't already think I'm good. I already don't have self-esteem, right? And this is just reflecting that back to me. So then you take that and you say, okay, I'm going to realize this never had anything to do with food. It wasn't food's fault, or the fact that I couldn't be on my diet, or the fact that I fell off the diet, or the fact that I couldn't eat pure enough that made me feel so shitty about myself. It's that I already felt shitty about myself and I'm projecting it onto food. I'm scapegoating it onto food, but it's not actually food that's doing that. So this is a separate issue that I need to look at. And now if I'm just eating for health, if I'm just eating for nourishment, if I'm just eating for physical health because I deserve to feel good inside myself, all of a sudden eating healthy isn't going to be such a huge issue. You see what I'm saying? It's not going to be about your purity, which you already believe that you don't have. It's not going to be about your self-esteem that's already terrible, right? Because then your food has no choice but to reflect that back to you. But if you say, okay, I'm putting food in its place, I'm going to deal with my self-esteem, I'm going to deal with my self-hate, I'm going to deal with my not already thinking I'm good enough, and I'm going to realize that it has nothing to do with food, then all of a sudden, like I said, that's when eating healthy stops being a struggle. Because it's no longer about you aligning with this self-perception that you have about yourself that you're not pure. You see what I'm saying? So this is that kind of magical paradox where the pure, clean, perfect diet you've been struggling to have your whole life all of a sudden becomes really easy because it's just about nourishing yourself, right? It's just about, you know, actually having food be in its place, having your body be in its place. But the trick is that you really have to be on top of yourself and notice when you're making your goodness and your purity and your self-esteem and your sense of self-worth and your sense of being good and right and good, like pure, come from your food, come from your body, and you have to question that every time. You see what I'm saying? Like you really have to go and say, okay, this is a scapegoat. It's never been about the food. It's never been about the body. It's never been about my food, and it's never been about my body. It's always been about this thing that I have, this core desire, like core belief about myself that is being projected onto food. Okay? And so, like, I'm going to tell you the example from my own life. As like when I was anorexic, and then the first kind of phase of healing from anorexia, right? I was continually obsessed with this idea of eating pure and being pure and getting my pureness from my food and eating right and doing the cleanest diet and da-da-da-da-da. And I constantly failed at it. Constantly, okay? The more I told myself these foods were good, these foods were bad, I can't have these foods I can't have, and I have this like horrible sense of self-worth and this like belief that I'm a piece of shit and this belief that I'm not worthy and all of this stuff, the more I'm attracted to eating those foods because I was aligning with my core belief that I wasn't good, that I wasn't pure, that I wasn't healthy, right? And therefore I ate that way, right? So when I started to say, okay, what if there's no good, no bad food? What if food is just food? Food is just food and it doesn't mean anything about me, right? It doesn't mean anything about who I am. It doesn't mean anything about my value. It doesn't mean anything about my worth. And I really, really was on top of that, right? Like, okay, this food doesn't make me anything. This food doesn't make me anything. This is just food. This is just food. This is just food. If I already believed I was good enough, what would I eat? And that is what actually started to heal my body. That is what made it so that I could eat a diet that was in alignment with my health. Okay? So long as I was struggling with this Puritan idea, I was never able to eat in a way that was actually healthy for me. Okay? I would always sabotage myself. So I got this question on the other videos, like, so what if you're healing, right? What if you're trying to heal something and your body is really messed up and you are trying to eat pure to heal yourself? Okay, again, what if you remove the labels of food being good and bad? It doesn't mean anything about you. It doesn't mean anything about your righteousness. It doesn't mean anything about your self-esteem. It doesn't mean anything about that. You're just going to eat to feel good. Okay? And physically. Not feel good about yourself emotionally. Not feel good about your self-esteem. Because that's going to come from somewhere else. So what if, number one, it doesn't mean that you're a bad person, that you're sick. It doesn't mean that you're wrong. It doesn't mean you've done something wrong. It doesn't mean anything negative about you. It's just a journey that you're on right now. Okay, so what if being sick didn't mean anything? What if how your body is right now doesn't mean anything about your goodness or badness? Right? So that's number one. Most people think that when they're sick, they've done something wrong, that they're bad, that this is a sign that they're not good. Right? So what if it doesn't mean that? What if sickness is just a part of your journey right now? Okay? It doesn't mean anything about you. And the fact that you don't know how to make yourself better doesn't mean anything about you. It's just a journey. So you remove that as being a part of your self-esteem or not self-esteem. How do you want to eat? You see what I'm saying? This is the thing. So that's what I'm saying. Is like I struggled with maintaining a healthy diet that actually worked for me. Like I struggled with not sabotaging myself with food every single day, right? Until I gave up my Puritan belief. And then as soon as I gave up my Puritan belief and decided food in my body didn't mean anything about my self-esteem, I was going to check that and figure that out in another way. And that my food and my body were just vehicles that my body is just a vehicle that I walk through in my life, and it's a blessing and I love it, but it doesn't mean anything about me. And my diet doesn't mean anything about me. It doesn't define me. It doesn't make me good or bad. Then all of a sudden eating healthy was easy as fucking pie. Like seriously. I stopped doing all of my crazy self-destructive, picking at things in the middle of the night, blah, 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 shitty behaviors that I fought against forever. Because it just like that no longer aligned with what I was, where I put food and where I put my body, right? So now, yeah, I eat what people would probably consider a very Puritan diet. Yeah, like, and I'm admitting that right here, right now, absolutely. And the only reason I'm able to do that is because it feels good in my body, number one, and I made that the priority. That my food and my body don't define me. They don't define my goodness. I started to figure that out in other ways, okay? And so now, nourishing myself and eating foods that are healthy for me and giving my body the fuel that it needs to function so that I'm not tired and I'm not sick and I'm clear-minded and I enjoy the foods that I eat, but I don't sabotage myself with the foods that I eat. And food stopped being this whole big, like, I can have it, I can't have it, this big scary monster. And now food is just food. And I choose the foods that I eat because all of the foods that I eat make me feel good. And that's it, right? But that doesn't mean that when we're out to dinner and Marcus orders a portobello mushroom burger that he thinks is delicious, that I'm not going to take a bite of it because it's not pure. Of course not. I'm going to eat it. Like, I'm going to try it. I pick at his food all the time, right? But, like, there's no guilt. There's no worry. There's no fear. Where before it was like, I would sit there and stare at it and be like, it's not good. I can't have it. That's cooked food. That's bad for me, blah, blah, blah. And then eventually it would, like, take over and I would just, like, pick at it and pick at it and pick at it and pick at it and, like, not be able to stop myself. Now I can take a bite and it's fine, and then it's delicious, and then I go back to eating oranges, and it's like there's no problem there. You see what I'm saying? And this is what I want to say is that, like, overall, sure, my diet is very pure, but I have no fear of other foods because they don't mean that to me anymore. Right? It's not, I'm not afraid of unhealthy foods and what they're going to mean for me. It's like there are a lot of times where I just don't eat things because it doesn't make me feel good. But that's it. But it's not like if I were to eat a donut that I would feel bad about myself or that I would feel guilty because that's weird. Like, really, when you think about it, it's kind of weird. I would just say, okay, like, that was the choice that I made. Right? But I just don't really make that choice. So this is all that I'm saying, okay? Is that the paradox is, When you let go of your Puritan thinking and you realize that your self-esteem and your self-worth and your purity is a separate issue from food and your body, and you put your food and your body in its rightful place of nourishment and a vehicle, all of a sudden eating healthy is going to be easy. And when you stop making yourself wrong or bad for being overweight or for being sick or for being anything, and you just say, this is just where I'm at right now, this doesn't mean anything about me, this is my journey, it's going to take all the pressure off, right? You don't have to heal to be a good person. You can be sick and be amazing, right? It doesn't mean anything about you. It just means you're on that journey right now. And so take that pressure off, put everything in its rightful place, and everything will become easy. Okay? So that's that. Leave your questions, comments, concerns down below. I'd love to hear from you. Like, subscribe, find me on Facebook, Perception Trainers, Instagram, Ali_Perception Trainers, and I'll see you in the next video. Mwah.